After the dragons and Vikings of Berk finally found peace, the island changed forever. Once, dragons had been the greatest enemies of the Vikings, fiery beasts that stole livestock and burned homes. But all that ended when a young boy named Hiccup proved to the world that dragons weren't monsters at all. He showed that they could be tamed, trusted, and loved. Now, dragons lived among the villagers, working beside them as friends. Berk had become a place unlike any other, a home shared by humans and dragons. Every morning, the skies above Berk were filled with color and sound. Dragons soared freely, wings flashing against the clouds, while Vikings below went about their work with dragons at their sides. Toothless, the only known night fury, remained at Hiccup's side, sleek, fast, and loyal beyond measure. Together, they were unstoppable. But even in peace, challenges were waiting to rise again. As life on Berk grew busier and wilder with dragons around, the need for protection grew too. Dragons could be mischievous, unpredictable, and sometimes downright chaotic. So Hiccup and his friends took on a new responsibility. They became the Dragon Riders of Berk, sworn to protect their island and its dragons from any threat that might come. Astrid, fierce and determined, rode her sharp-spined deadly natter, Stormfly. Fishlegs, gentle and intelligent, flew on the strong but sweet Gronkle named Meatlug. The ever-boastful Snotlout had his fiery monstrous nightmare, Hookfang, and the twin terrors, Ruffnut and Tuffnut, shared their two-headed hideous Zippleback, Barf and Belch. Together, they trained, explored, and learned to work as one. But this peace did not go unnoticed. Far across the sea, a dangerous figure was watching, Dagur the Deranged, chief of the Berserker tribe. Unpredictable, wild, and obsessed with dragons, Dagur believed himself destined to capture and conquer the most powerful dragon in existence, the Night Fury. When he learned that Hiccup possessed one, his obsession grew into madness. Dagur's mind was sharp but twisted, and his army of dragon hunters began to move closer to Berk's waters. Hiccup, now a skilled flyer and leader, knew that peace could never last forever, not in a world where greed and fear still ruled men's hearts. The riders began to prepare. Hiccup invented new weapons, dragon armor, and tools that could help them fight if danger came. He refined Toothless's mechanical tail fin, making it stronger and faster. He even designed dragon-friendly shelters and lookout towers around Berk's coastline. But his inventions weren't just for battle, they were for understanding. Hiccup wanted to know dragons better, to find out where they came from, how they lived, and how humans could truly coexist with them. Throughout the season, the riders went on many adventures beyond Berk. In one journey, they discovered an island overrun by baby dragons that had grown wild without human contact. They weren't evil, just frightened. It took patience, trust, and courage to calm them. Another time, the riders faced a mysterious fog that blanketed the ocean, hiding a gigantic sea dragon beneath. The creature attacked anything that entered its territory, forcing Hiccup to find a peaceful way to lead it back to safety rather than kill it. Each mission taught them something new, about dragons, about leadership, and about themselves. But none of these adventures compared to the terror that came when they met the screaming death. It was like nothing they had ever seen, a colossal white dragon, larger than a house, with glowing red eyes and a roar that shook the ground. It could tunnel through solid rock and erupt from beneath the earth in a storm of wings and fire. When it attacked nearby islands, whole villages vanished. The riders tracked it, hoping to stop the destruction, only to realize something deeper: this creature wasn't evil. It was simply protecting its nest. It had been born underground in the tunnels beneath Berk's sea cliffs, and its kind had lived there for generations. But human expansion had driven it out. To save Berk, Hiccup had to find a way to lead it back to its home without killing it. The battle was fierce, but in the end, the screaming death retreated into the ocean's depths, leaving Berk standing, scarred but safe. While Hiccup faced dragons and dangers, his relationship with his father, Stoik the Vast, continued to evolve. Stoik loved his son more than anything, but he didn't always understand him. Stoik was a warrior, direct, brave, and proud. Hiccup was a thinker, quiet, inventive, and sometimes too kind for a Viking's world. Yet this season brought them closer. One day, Stoik met a dragon of his own, a powerful rumblehorn he named Skullcrusher. At first, he resisted the idea of riding one, but when the dragon saved his life, Stoik finally understood what his son had been fighting for. The sight of the great chief flying beside Hiccup became a symbol of how far Berk had come. Still, Dager's threat grew. He began launching small attacks on Berk's ships, testing its defenses. He sent scouts to steal dragons and even captured some to use as weapons. His mind was sharp and cruel, always planning, always watching. In one of the season's darkest moments, Dagur captured Astrid and Snotlout, holding them hostage. He sent a message to Hiccup: "Surrender Toothless, or watch your friends die." Hiccup faced an impossible choice: his best friend or his people. But Hiccup wasn't a boy anymore. He was a leader. With Astrid's cleverness and the riders' teamwork, they staged a daring rescue under the cover of night. The plan was dangerous, too dangerous, but it worked. The riders escaped, and Dager's fleet was left burning on the sea. Yet as the smoke rose, Dager's laughter echoed through the darkness. He wasn't defeated, not yet. Throughout the season, the riders also met new dragons and learned about their powers. They discovered dragons that could create whirlwinds, spit lava, and even camouflage themselves in rock. Hiccup carefully recorded everything, building a dragon manual that could help future generations. Fishlegs helped him study dragon behavior, noting their diets, temperaments, and flight speeds. Astrid trained new recruits to become riders, teaching them discipline and courage. Even Snotlout and the twins grew, though they still found plenty of time for chaos and mischief. The group's friendship deepened, forged by battle and adventure. The climax of the season came when the riders discovered Dager's ultimate plan: to find and control the Screaming Death. He had captured smaller dragons, forcing them into cages, using pain and fire to break them. His goal was to turn dragons into weapons, an army under his command. When Hiccup learned of this, he knew what had to be done. They couldn't let Dagur reach the Screaming Death's nest. If he succeeded, Berk and every island nearby would burn. The final battle was a storm of fire and fury. Dager's ships surrounded the island where the Screaming Death had been seen last. The riders dove from the skies, Toothless leading the charge, blue plasma blasts cutting through the darkness. Stormfly's spines rained down like arrows, Hookfang ignited sails in flames, and Meatlug dropped boulders from above. Ruffnut and Tuffnut flew wildly, confusing the enemy ships with smoke and chaos. But Dagur himself was unstoppable. On his flagship, he confronted Hiccup face to face, sword in hand. "You and your dragon are nothing without each other," he sneered. "Let's see how you fight. When I take him away." The battle was brutal. The deck burned around them, waves crashing against flaming wood. Toothless was chained, struggling to break free. Dagur swung his sword with savage fury, but Hiccup used his agility and intelligence to fight back. At the same time, the Screaming Death erupted from below, tearing through ships like paper. The sea boiled with chaos. Hiccup freed Toothless just in time, and together they soared into the air, leading the Screaming Death away from the ships and back toward its underground nest. It was a desperate chase through tunnels and collapsing caves, but at the last moment, Toothless unleashed a final, massive blast that sealed the entrance behind them. Dager's army was destroyed, his ships sunk beneath the waves. As for Dagur himself, he survived, but barely, vowing revenge before disappearing into the sea. When the riders returned to Berk, they were greeted as heroes. The villagers cheered, dragons roared, and Stoik embraced his son with pride. "You've done what I never could, Hiccup," he said. "You've made dragons part of our family." The riders, bruised and tired, smiled as they watched their dragons settle among the people. They had saved Berk once again, not just with strength, but with heart. As the season closed, Hiccup stood on a cliff overlooking the ocean, the sunset glowing on the horizon. Toothless stood beside him, eyes bright and wings spread wide. Hiccup knew peace wouldn't last forever. The world was vast, and beyond the horizon lay new islands, new dragons, and new dangers. But he also knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. Man and dragon, side by side. Because they weren't just riders anymore. They were defenders, of Berk, of dragons, and of the bond that would change the world forever. And with that, the legend of Hiccup and Toothless continued, not as a story of war, but as a story of understanding, courage, and friendship that could tame even the fiercest fire.